Before you buy your next motorhome, you need to hear this. Some rigs on the market today are so poorly engineered they're failing long before they ever hit 50,000 miles. And buyers don't find out until it's way too late. We're talking blown transmissions, twisting frames, leaking seams, and electrical systems that burn out under normal travel. And the craziest part? These models are still being marketed as reliable, luxury, or road-ready, but owners are exposing the truth. And the stories are brutal. Weeks in the shop, endless recalibrations, repairs that cost more than the rig is worth. If you want to avoid the most expensive mistake of your life, stay locked in. Let's begin with the rig that looks perfect until the first real road trip. Vario Perfect 1200 with garage. Behind its polished exterior, this machine hides a flaw that reveals itself the moment the road turns rough. This RV carries a full rear automobile bay supported by a hydraulic lift that must maintain flawless alignment. Long highway stretches and uneven surfaces gradually push that system beyond its comfort zone. Technicians frequently describe early flex developing in the subframe, and that flex has a habit of traveling upward. Once it reaches the living area, cabinet doors shift, latches become unreliable, and interior panels begin to protest. Owners often mention repeated recalibration sessions, each one taking time, money, and patience they never plan to sacrifice. These recurring adjustments wear down confidence faster than any road vibration. Every correction reveals how dependent the entire structure is on that single rear mechanism performing perfectly. When one feature holds that much influence over daily usability, longevity becomes uncertain. From one garage-driven challenge to another, the road leads to a design where complexity follows a different path. Ketterer Continental. Luxury may turn heads, but the engineering underneath this model tells a very different story. This RV is known for its integrated rear automobile bay, a feature that looks seamless until real miles expose the limits of its engineering. European roads, smoother and more predictable, shaped this design. North American highways, with their harsh expansion joints and uneven surfaces, introduce forces the lift platform and surrounding structure were never prepared to endure. Owners have reported prolonged service visits, often involving recalibration of the hydraulic cradle that supports the vehicle. Technicians describe the system as intricate, sensitive, and heavily dependent on perfect balance. When that balance falters, stress reaches the surrounding frame, leading to alignment shifts that grow worse with every long trip. Those hidden pressures set the stage for a vintage idea that carries its own structural risks. If this breakdown is helping you spot the warning signs early, take a moment to like the video and subscribe so you never miss these investigations. Share your thoughts below as well, because real experiences often reveal issues the brochures never mention. Compact Sportsman. What first appears charming and inventive quickly exposes weaknesses born from another era. This early hybrid attempted to function as both a small boat and a compact RV trailer. Yet, the structure tying those identities together ages poorly. Its aluminum hull and marine-grade wood were impressive in the 1950s. But decades of expansion, contraction, and vibration leave seams vulnerable. Once those seams open, water intrusion begins, and the lightweight frame no longer carries highway stress with confidence. Inspectors often note hull separation beginning near the lower corners, a point where road flex and water pressure meet in the worst possible way. Even restored units struggle, because the original engineering relied on sealants and fasteners that cannot match today's demands. Long trips make weaknesses louder. Short trips merely delay them. Moisture does the rest. The Compact Sportsman stands as a reminder that novelty does not guarantee durability. That blend of ambition and aging materials brings us to a rig where elegance masks a persistent weakness. Westcraft Capistrano. Nostalgia gives this classic its glow, yet time exposes the one design choice that undermines it. This RV uses a raised trolley-top roof fitted with clear-story windows, a feature meant to deliver light and elegance. However, those elevated seams become vulnerable as decades pass. Expansion, contraction, and road vibration slowly weaken the joints where the upper structure meets the curved aluminum body. Once those seals shift even slightly, water intrusion begins its slow, predictable work. Restorers frequently describe the Capistrano as a constant chase, because one repaired seam often leads to another that reveals hidden moisture damage. The internal wood framing absorbs this water, swells, and transfers stress into the surrounding panels, creating alignment problems that grow more noticeable with each season. As the roof flexes, interior fixtures begin to separate, and long-distance travel becomes increasingly unrealistic. The Westcraft Capistrano remains a beautiful idea, but its lifespan struggles against physics. Its struggle with time echoes in a machine shaped by aviation thinking, where flexibility takes on a new meaning. Curtiss Aerocar. Aviation-inspired ambition shaped this machine, but road life exposes the limits of that daring idea. This RV uses a lightweight, aircraft-style aluminum shell formed over a framework that was never intended to absorb constant road vibration. At gentle speeds, that structure behaves well enough, but once long-distance travel becomes routine, the metal begins to flex, and that repeated movement creates the first signs of fatigue. Hairline cracks appear along stress points, and those cracks rarely stay small. Restoration teams often mention that once fatigue begins in an Aerocar, repairs turn into an ongoing cycle. Reinforcing one section shifts stress into another. The curvature of the shell complicates everything, causing panels to resist proper alignment after long-term use. Even carefully preserved examples reveal subtle deformation that grows more visible after towing or display movement. The Curtiss Aerocar remains visually striking, yet its lifespan struggles under modern expectations. Engineering born from experimentation guides us toward a promotional build that reveals its limits once in motion. 1937 Ford House Car. A historic silhouette draws you in, but the moment it moves, the truth comes to the surface. Built as a promotional showcase rather than a long-distance traveler, it relies on a modified truck frame that never fully supported the weight of its custom cabin. Over time, that mismatch becomes obvious. The frame begins to sag, suspension components strain under uneven loads, and braking performance fades far earlier than modern expectations would allow. Collectors often describe these rigs as fragile despite careful preservation. The interior weight presses constantly against the narrow wheelbase, and each mile adds stress that the original engineering simply cannot disperse. Even short trips reveal alignment issues as doors shift and panels loosen. Braking systems from that era also struggle, especially when the coach encounters inclines or stop-and-go traffic. The 1937 Ford House Car remains an important historical piece, yet it was never intended for frequent movement. Vintage flaws shift focus toward a 70s design whose hidden systems age in an entirely different way. FMC 2900 AR. Beneath its rugged reputation lies a network of aging systems that struggle to survive modern miles. This RV relies on wiring and cooling layouts designed in the early 1970s, and those components are now far beyond their intended service window. Insulation around the electrical harness becomes brittle, connectors loosen, and once current begins to arc or fluctuate, the entire network starts to fail in sequence. Owners frequently describe dimming lights, unstable generator output, and dashboard gauges reacting unpredictably. Technicians who still work on these coaches explain that repairing one section does not guarantee stability, because the rest of the harness may be nearing the same breaking point. Replacing the full system often involves custom fabrication, extended labor hours, and specialty sourcing, making the cost climb far faster than expected. Cooling components show similar age, with radiators and hoses struggling to manage heat under sustained loads. The FMC 2900R demonstrates how time can overwhelm once impressive engineering. Electrical fatigue leads directly to a compact diesel concept, where temperature becomes the deciding factor. Vixen 21 TD. Ingenuity may have carried this compact design forward, but real travel quickly shows its vulnerabilities. This compact RV uses a turbo diesel power plant sourced from a European automobile platform. And although the idea promised strong mileage, the cooling system behind it struggles once the coach faces long grades or summer temperatures. Prolonged climbs push temperatures upward, forcing the engine to fight heat it was never fully prepared to manage. Owners often describe a slow rise in coolant levels, followed by fan cycles that grow louder and longer. When heat builds faster than the system can shed it, interior panels begin to flex, and roofline seals lose their tight fit. That small shift allows moisture to slip in, and once water reaches the underlying structure, the damage begins to spread. Technicians confirm that addressing one leak often reveals another forming nearby. Thermal strain opens the door to a lightweight aluminum body that transforms road stress into structural change. Ultravan. At first glance, the lightweight body feels revolutionary, yet that very weight savings becomes its downfall. This coach uses a monocoque structure with no traditional frame underneath, meaning the aluminum shell carries every ounce of stress created by motion, vibration, and age. At first, the design feels innovative, but once real miles accumulate, the body begins to flex in ways the original makers never fully controlled. Door seams shift, window edges grow uneven, subtle distortion appears along the lower panels. Owners and restorers often mention that once the structure starts changing shape, alignment becomes an ongoing battle rather than a single repair. The drivetrain, borrowed from a compact automobile platform, suffers as well, because even slight body deformation can interrupt proper mounting angles. That change increases vibration, accelerates wear, and eventually forces expensive rebuilds. The Ultravan remains visually distinctive, yet its durability slips away as time and travel reshape its thin shell. That delicate shell sets the tone for a one-off build, where every component depends on handcrafted precision. 1976. Starstreak 2 GMC. One-of-one creations offer excitement, but the maintenance reality behind this one tells a sharper truth. This hand-built RV relies on custom-formed panels, individually crafted brackets, and wiring layouts that exist nowhere else in the industry. When something shifts, cracks, or burns out, there is no parts catalog to lean on. Every repair becomes a fabrication project, and every adjustment demands time, skill, and careful reconstruction. Restorers often mention that the aluminum shell carries stress unevenly, causing fractures to appear along the wheel arches and door pillars. Once those fractures begin, vibration makes them spread, and sealing them rarely lasts long. Inside the cabin, electrical systems follow non-standard routes, meaning even simple faults require tracing lines through areas never designed for modern diagnostic work. The Starstreak 2 GMC may look futuristic for its era, yet the maintenance reality grounds it quickly. Custom fabrication gives way to a hybrid design whose dual identity pulls its structure in two opposing directions. Mirage Boaterhome. Combining land travel with water navigation sounds bold, until both environments start pulling it apart. This unusual machine tries to function as both a road-going RV and a functional watercraft, but the demands of those two worlds conflict at every turn. The marine hull beneath the cabin flexes differently than a traditional highway frame, and that mismatch creates stress along the connection points where the upper body attaches to the lower shell. Over miles and waves, small gaps form, and water intrusion begins. Owners regularly report that the steering linkage, designed to serve two very different environments, wears down faster than expected. Road vibration affects the marine mounts, and wave impact influences the chassis components that sit above them. Technicians note that servicing one system often disrupts the other, leading to long repair cycles. The strain of land and water travel paves the way toward a far larger amphibious machine with even steeper demands. Terra Wind, amphibious motor coach. On paper, it promises limitless freedom, but the real world turns its complexity into a constant burden. This massive RV depends on a precise transition sequence to shift from highway travel into marine operation, and that sequence relies on sensors, hydraulics, and control modules that must work together without a single hesitation. When even one sensor misreads, the entire system locks, leaving the coach unable to enter or exit the water safely. Technicians who have serviced the Terra Wind often describe the marine propulsion units as demanding and vulnerable to misalignment. Wave impact stresses components that were originally engineered for steady forward movement, not unpredictable force. Meanwhile, highway vibration wears down hydraulic fittings that are crucial for flotation stability. Repairs require specialized knowledge, extended part sourcing, and significant downtime, making every breakdown both costly and disruptive. Its complexity clears a path to a global expedition rig built for extremes, though carrying its own hidden weight. If you want straightforward guidance that actually protects your time and money, make sure you subscribe before moving on. The rigs ahead carry even bigger surprises, and staying informed is the only way to avoid the mistakes most owners never see coming. Unicat EX70. A machine built for remote landscapes can still stumble when its systems depend on perfect harmony, yet the same advanced systems that make it formidable in theory also make it demanding in practice. This model relies on interconnected electrical, hydraulic, and climate control components that must operate in perfect sequence. When one subsystem fails, others often follow, creating a chain reaction rather than an isolated breakdown. Owners who have documented their repair experiences frequently mention extended wait times for specialized parts, along with the need for technicians trained in expedition-grade systems. Even routine maintenance can require custom tools or off-site coordination. The weight of the cabin and equipment places constant pressure on the chassis, increasing strain on suspension components during long, uneven travel. Interlinked systems transition naturally into a six-wheel powerhouse that faces an entirely different battle. Action Mobil Global XRS 7200. 6 driven wheels look unstoppable, yet inside the drivetrain, a quiet battle builds with every mile. This six-wheel RV carries heavy load across its rear axles, creating heat inside bearings during extended travel. When that heat rises beyond what lubrication can handle, early wear begins forming along critical surfaces. Technicians often treat this pattern as a signal that major service is coming. The drivetrain must divide power across several driven wheels, and even slight imbalance becomes expensive. A failing seal permits contamination, allowing debris to circulate through the system. Rebuilding an axle demands specialized labor and significant downtime. Suspension air components also work continuously to keep the vehicle level, and that constant effort increases strain over long miles. The toll of heavy driveline pressure guides us toward an 8-wheel brute, where balance becomes the defining challenge. SLRV Commander 8x8. 8-wheel power sounds invincible, but the smallest imbalance transforms strength into strain. This expedition-grade RV depends on 8 driven wheels working in harmony, and that harmony is far more fragile than the rugged silhouette suggests. When even one wheel loses pressure or drifts out of alignment, the entire driveline compensates, redirecting force where it does not belong. Over time, that compensation introduces excessive strain into shafts, joints, and differentials. Owners who document long-term use often describe chasing minor pressure discrepancies that turn into major mechanical concerns. The central tire inflation system, meant to simplify control, becomes a vulnerability once valves age or sensors misread. When the system falters, uneven loading follows, and the drivetrain begins wearing at multiple points simultaneously. Technicians confirm that restoring balance requires methodical inspection and precise adjustment. Excessive load and delicate equilibrium steer the story toward a truck-based giant confronting its own limits. EarthRoamer XV-HD. A heavy-duty platform suggests durability, though its weight quietly pushes the limits of its own hardware. This towering RV mounts a fully equipped living space onto a truck chassis already working near the upper edge of its mechanical tolerance. With every trip, the suspension shoulders enormous load, forcing the air system to cycle constantly to maintain height and stability. Over time, those cycles strain valves, compressors, and bags that were never meant to manage such relentless pressure. Owners often report gradual sagging at the rear, followed by uneven stance on rough terrain. Technicians describe the repair process as labor-intensive, requiring deep inspection into connections that sit buried beneath tightly packaged components. Electrical demand climbs as the cabin systems expand, and that demand puts additional heat into pathways that are difficult to access once issues begin. Ambition stretching hardware too far prepares the ground for a modern villa-style design, with a costly twist. Maxus Life Home V90 Villa Edition. A moving balcony may impress at first sight, but its mechanics reveal the cost of stretching design too far. This ambitious RV uses a side-expanding balcony designed to slide outward and support a usable platform. But the moment that wall shifts beyond the main body, stress gathers along the frame in ways traditional motorhomes never face. Road vibration, crosswinds, and uneven surfaces combine to push against the extended section, slowly loosening points that must remain perfectly aligned. Owners who have watched these units age often mention subtle flex beginning near the balcony rails. That flex grows into misalignment, and once alignment drifts, the motors struggle to retract the section cleanly. Seals lose compression, moisture slips in, and interior materials begin absorbing what the frame can no longer keep out. Technicians confirm that repairs require more than routine adjustment. They demand recalibration and reinforcement. Structural strain at the wall line leads straight into a luxury hauler, where the garage reshapes everything around it. Dembell Motorhome Garage Model. Carrying a full automobile on board makes a statement, yet the structure beneath that load tells another tale. This high-end RV carries a full automobile bay at the rear, relying on a lift system and reinforced floor structure to support the added weight. When the coach is parked on level ground, the engineering feels solid, but the challenges appear once the vehicle meets real road conditions. With every mile, the concentrated load pushes downward on the rear frame rails, amplifying vibration across the lower body. Owners who document their experiences often mention gradual shifts in the lift platform's calibration. That shift affects how the garage door closes, how the internal supports sit, and how the surrounding walls endure pressure during travel. Technicians note that addressing these issues demands more than simple adjustments. They require precise alignment and, in some cases, structural reinforcement. Its rear-weighted design sets the spotlight on a center-mounted platform that transforms the entire frame. Volkner Performance. Innovation reaches deep into the frame here, but the consequences of that ambition grow over every mile. This RV lowers a vehicle beneath the living floor using a hydraulic platform that must remain perfectly aligned with the chassis. When the coach is stationary, that system feels impressive. But the moment highway forces enter the picture, everything becomes more fragile than it appears. The concentrated weight presses directly into the middle of the frame, creating torsion that spreads outward with each mile. Owners who track these rigs over time often describe doors shifting, tiles loosening, and plumbing lines drifting as the frame subtly twists. Technicians explain that the platform itself begins to show signs of flex once the underlying rails lose their uniform tension. Correcting that twist is neither quick nor inexpensive, because the entire midsection must be inspected to restore balance. One final leap remains toward a flagship coach whose moving architecture demands absolute perfection to survive. Marchi Mobil Element Palazzo Superior. A spectacle from the outside, this flagship coach hides a delicate system that resists real-world travel. This high-profile RV relies on a transforming roof lounge and a complex set of curved composite panels that must remain perfectly synchronized. When the coach is freshly calibrated, the system moves with precision, but long miles introduce vibrations that slowly nudge these mechanisms out of alignment. Once alignment slips, the roof lift refuses to operate smoothly, and the entire sequence locks itself for safety. Owners often report long downtime while waiting for factory-trained technicians. Adjustments rely on specialized tools, and overseas components slow repairs further. Even slight structural drift disrupts movement, and restoring proper geometry requires detailed recalibration rather than straightforward mechanical fixes. The Marchi Mobil Element Palazzo Superior proves that when mechanisms multiply, reliability slips fast, reminding us that long-term strength is worth far more than moving parts. If this breakdown saved you from a costly mistake, hit that like button so more RV shoppers see it. And I want to hear from you. Comment below with the rigs you've seen fail, or the models you think should have made this list. Your real experiences help everyone. Don't forget to subscribe for the next investigation, because the RV industry isn't done surprising us.